And we talked about guys kind of going home, but not really actually going home. Noah. Joakim Noah signed with the New York Knicks. He's from New York, signed for 4 years, $72 million. Do you like the fit? Do you like what New York's doing? Because they're bringing in D Rose, they're bringing in Joakim Noah. Do you like the fit of the old veterans who obviously have had great careers, but do you think it really fits with them?
It seems like they're making a push for the championship. However, the championship that they're pushing for happened 5 years ago. So unless we're playing in 2011. This team to me is like a hodgepodge, and like they're even a team that's in haste talks to get Wade, and that's another player where it's like, okay, like Derrick Rose, the only thing you're banking on with Rose is that he has a phenomenal contract year
and can stay healthy
and helps you for the
Well,
but
that's
if he can and give you that contract year with Joe, he's just an energy. Like the best thing I loved about Joe in Chicago was he was an energy guy and brought energy to that team. And he was also the guy where I kind of felt like, I can't remember what player we were talking about, like a podcast or two ago, where if you were a Chicago Bulls fan, you loved Joe. If you weren't, you probably didn't like Joe too much because he was the guy that in like interviews after playing Cleveland, fuck this city. I don't like this city. It was Draymond, yeah. Where he was like, you know what, I don't like this city. Cleveland ain't got none. They ain't won championships. Bashing LeBron, calling LeBron a bitch on the court. And he's that guy. He's going to be the energy, even if it's off the bench for the Knicks. I like the move. I just don't know where the direction of the team is going to win 2016, not 2011.
And I kind of agree with you on that direction because you bring in Jeff Hornacek, a guy who's known for a fast offense. We also don't know if he's going to stick to the triangle.
Joe can kind of run a little bit,
but
though.
with his legs. He hasn't played a full season in 2 years. And even before then, I think he's played around 3 full seasons in his career. I don't really know if he fits in with this team or really fits in the coaching.
I disagree. I think he's an excellent fit for this team. He is a pass-first center that, it's kind of a rare thing.
He has the ball to Melo or
He has
Porzingis.
really good hands. They've got good scoring everywhere else on the court. I don't think you need to rely on, Joe being your offensive guy down low. No, he'll get you.
Oh, I wasn't saying that.
No, but I'm saying like fit-wise.
Defensively, though.
Fit-wise, he's a good defender when healthy. He has great passing vision, good hands, and he can still pull down boards. So, look, you're going to get a guy who can distribute the ball out of, the paint. So that gives you better opportunities. Look, Rose has played with Joe, his entire career, so they already have a great connection going, so they can play off of each other. They know what each other can do.
And do you think that this is also a little bit of Melo going, hey, when I was in Chicago, these are two guys that I think that when I was there just visiting for a free agency meeting, hey, Phil, these are two guys that I would like on my team. And then they went out and traded for Rose, and now they got Joakim.
I don't know if it's more of that. I think they're just more filling needs. I think it just happens to be these guys. And maybe if you bring in D Rose, then they're like, all right, well, we need a center. D Rose has, obviously experience with him. Maybe we'll bring him in. I see your point where he's a great passing center. But you got Porzingis who's really young and who obviously can run the floor a bit.
Yep.
But Carmelo's getting older. Carmelo's getting up in age. D Rose with his knees. You don't really know who's going to play the 2 guard. Do you see
if
this?
They bring in Wade.
Well, let me bring this question up. Do you think the Knicks, this move for Rose and Noah, make the Knicks a playoff team? And if they're not a playoff team, who do they need to bring in, or what type of player do they need to bring in to make them a playoff team this year?
The big question here is health. If
obviously
everyone on that team stays healthy, yes, they're a playoff team. Rose, even if he has a similar season to what his performance was last year, which at the end peaked out really nicely. Absolutely. If Joe can give you 70 games, 65 games, which I think his average in his career is about 65, I think that team is set to go. I'm not saying they're a favorite or anything, but they're going to make it in the playoffs. Absolutely.
Well, and the one thing I'm looking at, and I'm kind of looking at the playoff teams thus far in the East, and the only one to me that I could see maybe slipping right now after we've seen in free agency is the Hornets. Because they don't got Jalen anymore.
Well, but Jalen wasn't running that offense. It was Kemba.
Yeah, but also Jalen also added to their team.
He was a sixth man.
The Pacers, the moves that they make, I don't think they're falling out as of yet.
The Pacers are moving up.
The Pistons, pardon me. I want to keep putting them in. Too. If anything, I look at this from a Bulls side, like if we didn't have the Derrick Rose Jimmy drama, and if Noah was actually on the floor, we would have made the playoffs and would have had a few more wins, and we only missed it by 2. So those two together for the Knicks, that may be able to add a couple wins. However, can that add the 12 wins that they were out of the playoffs?
No,
I think it can.
You got to remember, health-wise, they didn't have Porzingis for all 80 games. They didn't have Melo for the entire season.
Well, and Porzingis is now more improved because it was his rookie season.
He's hopefully a little more polished. Melo, I mean, he can... That weird part of the game that he adapted to being able to pass the ball was kind of weird, but you know what? I think all around the game, this Knicks offense is going to be very good.
The Knicks had to
They'll
do
be able
this
to move
too.
the ball around extremely well. I mean, we were talking about, is it going to be a liability on offense? I mean, Joe's never been a fantastic offensive player. His value comes on defense and the ability to distribute the ball back out. So, honestly, the 2-guard, you brought that up earlier, and that's a good question, is they don't really have a lock-in 2-guard yet.
Not at all. I don't think they actually have a guy who I would be comfortable starting with. But, I mean, you kind of bring up the playoffs. I mean, I think 6 teams are basically locked in the Eastern Conference. Obviously Cleveland, obviously Toronto. I would say Atlanta, even without the loss of Horford, I think Howard will fill in that spot great. Boston, it's hard to say they'll fall out.
See, I want to be a pessimist. I want to say there's a chance Boston could have a worse year than they did last year. I'm thinking Isaiah. He stepped up in a huge way, was an all-star, but I don't want to discredit him, but he was the only offensive power on that team, so it was in his right to take over the game, so maybe he's not as good this year.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at that team,
they've got
still great defensively too. I mean, they're great there. I mean, they don't have a really a center presence, but then you add they're in talks with Horford.
If
they're
they
the favorite with Horford.
Yeah,
you would say that they would probably be still in there. I would say Charlotte can fall out. Indiana's a lock and Detroit's a lock. I would say Miami, if they lose Wade and that team cannot stay healthy, so it's basically just Whiteside.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
And then Charlotte, I agree. If they do kind of lack, and that was kind of a magical season, but I can also see Charlotte making it in. But I mean, Washington, if Beal can stay healthy there,
Beal,
I think, and if you could bring in Horford because it's Boston and Washington there.
As we record this
Horford.
right now, yep.
Yeah, and then Orlando, I like the moves they made, and possibly Frank Vogel could get them in.
Did you say you like the moves Orlando made?
Some of them. Not all of them.
I'm about to hit you.
We'll get to it.
Okay.
But the last thing I want to bring up about the actual Knicks is
it's possible.
Yeah. They need, to me, I feel like they needed to make moves like this.
I hope the training staff and like the doctors in New York are fantastic.
It's either going to be a complete boom, or it's going to be what the fuck were the Knicks thinking. And if we look at the past, it's basically what the fuck have the Knicks been thinking.
Which is the perfect New York answer. Like, look, one way or the other, this team's going to be entertaining. Yeah. And there's drama around it. The media's going to murder them. It's going to be fantastic
people
as a basketball fan.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, this is a move that has to be made because they didn't have a draft pick. So they got it. To me, they had to bring in Rose, had to bring in Noah.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to disagree.